Hi, welcome to Beginning Ukulele. We're going to be working on the practice sheet for the chords G and D7. So at this time what you want to do is you want to go ahead and pause the tutorial, and you want to go and grab your practice sheet. At the top it says practice G and D7 chords. So once again you want to pause the tutorial, go ahead and grab that. And it's a good idea to go ahead and tune up your ukulele. And once you've got your things together, and we'll be starting in 1 second. Okay, so you got your music sheet and you got your ukulele tuned. Great. Okay, so we're going to be working on the G and D7 chord, and chords are written up here. You recently got introduced to the G and D7 chords, so we'll do a chord calc exercise. At the same time, I want to encourage you to start combining your previewing of the music and the chord calc exercise. Now, if that is too difficult, please just do them one at a time. So in other words, do your chord calc exercise first, then preview the music. Okay, but however, if you're reasonably comfortable with the chords, then try to start combining the technique. So in other words, before you do any song, music, exercise, lesson, whatever the case may be, you want to make sure you're doing that previewing the music. In this case, we have chords here that you want to preview to make sure that you can do the chords that's listed in the music. At the same time, being able to form the chord with your hand on the fretboard of the ukulele. Now I have the chords over here written down for you with the fingering. You also have that resource. Once again, at this point you want to stop relying on me to provide you with the chords. So in other words, if you were to see this, just the music, okay, you should have some idea on how to make the chord. Now before I go on anymore, some of the students that I come across sometimes get the G7 and the G chord mixed up. So the G7 chord was taught very early on in the course, and now we are learning the G chord. Now if you notice, go ahead and grab your chord chart. It should be handy, by the way. Your chord chart should always be handy. If you don't have it in your binder, you got to at least have it somewhere nearby where you can see it while you do the lessons. Okay, so early in the course we learned the G7 chord, and now we're learning the G chord. Now if you notice, the G chord looks different from the G7 chord. Maybe it looks a little similar to some, maybe, some students get it mixed up, but the important thing is this: do not get this G chord mixed up with the G7 chord. They are two totally different chords, and the fingerings are different. So we got to start memorizing that they are two different chords. G and G7 are different. Okay, that's very important. You don't want to get those two mixed up. Sometimes students get those two chords mixed up, so please make that correction now if you're having that problem getting them mixed up. Okay, now just to make sure, the practice sheet has 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of music. Okay, I have the first 2 lines written down. You have 7 chords per line. Okay, it's not too bad. Pretty fun exercise. Sounds pretty cool. Okay, so let's do a quick chord calc exercise since the chords are basically relatively new. G chord. Okay, so we want to get our first finger there on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, and then we want to put our second finger down on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and then finally our 3rd finger comes on. Keep in mind that you can refer to your music book for a pictorial diagram. You can also refer to your chord chart, and then you also have this up here constantly on the board for this exercise to refresh your memory. Okay, so we got the G chord. Okay, Get the G chord again. If not, pause the tutorial, get your G chord and start the tutorial. Okay, so you got the G chord. You're pressing on it and you're relaxing, pressing, relaxing. Picturing that chord in your mind, shoving that image into your mind. Okay? Look at the chord, see how you make it the chord, the fingering, how your fingering is, how it looks on the fretboard, and just as important, memorize how it feels. In other words, how the strings feel beneath your fingers. Okay, press, relax. Once again, I'm not taking my fingers off the ukulele. I'm just relaxing. So I'm pressing, relaxing. Okay, pressing, relaxing. Now we're going to lift our fingers off. So pressing, then we're going to lift off. Okay. Keep in mind, once again, I am exaggerating when I say lift off. Okay. What I mean for you is to lift off just a millimeter or so. So as you can see from the side there, I'm barely lifting off. So that's what you need to be doing. Barely lifting off. Keeping the hand frozen in that position. See how it's frozen? So if I were to take it off, see the chord? I could just put it right back on, and that's what you want to do. Now when I do this, I say lift off, I'm exaggerating so you can see, but you don't want to be lifting this far off the fretboard. That's too far. Just like that, okay? Okay, then when you're ready, you want to close your eyes, press down, close your eyes, lift off. Close your eyes, lift off, press down, lift off, eyes closed, seeing that image in your mind. And don't do this until you have a clear image in your mind before you do this, okay? And after you do that a couple times, lift off, press down, open your eyes, and you should be on the G chord. Keep in mind, you want to keep those fingers frozen, so all you got to do is lift off and back down, lift off and back down, so it's very easy. Okay, that's the G chord. Next, C chord's pretty easy, you should know that already. D7, D7. Big thing to know about is, okay, I'm showing you basically how I do it. In the previous tutorials, I've showed you other ways that you can make your D7, and I'm assuming that you chose the D7 that you're gonna make, or you're gonna be comfortable with. So that's something you gotta decide on. Okay, so for me, I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna show it to you like this. There we go, first finger, covering all the strings, second fret, second finger, right there on the first string on the third fret. Okay, and when we do the chord cock exercise, we're just pressing on there and relaxing. I am still leaving my fingers on the fretboard, pressing and relaxing, pressing and relaxing, putting that image into my mind, putting that image of how it feels into my mind. Okay, memorizing how it looks. Okay, then we're gonna lift off the fretboard a little bit. Press down, lift off. Press down, lift off. Once again, you're only lifting a millimeter or so, very slightly like that. Press, lift off. Keeping your eyes open at this point. You're looking at it, you're memorizing it, what it looks like, what it feels like. Okay, now if you do that a few times, now I know I'm moving a little fast. You should be investing a fair amount of time into this. Just keep in mind, the more time you invest now in these exercises, you will learn these chords faster, and you will probably not have as much mistakes when you play songs later on. Okay, here we go. Press, relax. Okay, now I'm going to press. We're going to lift off, down, press, lift off. Keep looking at the fingering, memorizing that. Okay, now we're going to close our eyes, press down, close your eyes, lift off, see that image in your mind, press down, lift off, press down, lift off, see the image in your mind, press down, hold it there, open your eyes, you should be on a D7 chord. Okay, if not, please back up the tutorial, try those chords again, then come on back, we'll start in a second. Okay, so you're looking at your music sheet. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing the first line, then the two lines. Okay, so you want to do a chord cock exercise with the music sheet. So at this point, if you're able to, what you can start doing is combining the chord cock exercise with your music sheet. So in other words, if the chords were already comfortable for you, you can skip that beginning section that I just showed you, which we did with the G chord and the D7 chord, and then just do them both together. In other words, the chord calc exercise and previewing the music. So we're going to do the first line. For instance, when we combine them, we're going to look at the chords. So right now, I am looking at your music sheet. I am not looking at my left hand or chord hand, okay? Because you know, I might feel reasonably comfortable. You don't have to be perfect, as long as you can get them kind of in the area of the chord, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as you can kind of make them and they're kind of close. That's good enough. So here we go. Let's do it together, previewing the music with the chord calc exercise. Here we go. First chord is a G, okay. Next chord is a G, okay, got that. Next chord is a D7, okay. Now here's a little clue. My second finger's already on the fretboard, so I can slide it to make a D7. D7, D7, C. Now the C chord, now you can do this, make a C chord, but since the D7 is right there, I'm just going to lift off my finger and I'm on the C chord. Okay, so if you choose to do that, fine. If not, we're moving on. C, next chord is G, okay, and then we're coming back to make that G chord. That's the first line, okay? Now we're going to do the second line, okay? Now, first of all, if that was difficult, you need to pause the tutorial, try that line again, okay? I know I was moving a little fast, but I'm just showing you the technique. The main thing is that you get the technique down on how to practice it. Okay, so now we're going to do the second line only. Second line only, starting with the G chord. Here we go. G. Okay, second finger's on the fretboard, so I'm going to slide it into a C. Here we go. Oh, D7's coming up. Put that finger down. Okay, D7. C chord's coming up. Okay, lift off the first finger. I'm on the C chord. D7 chord's coming up. D7, put that finger back down. Pressing, relaxing. D7 again, and finally the G chord. Notice how I slid down from that C position here. Put that first finger up there and my third finger. Okay. Always use, whenever possible, always use ways of getting to your next chord. Shortcuts. So in other words, if your finger is on the fretboard that can lead into your next chord, always use them. Think of them, I like to think of them as like little tracks, and your fingers are on the tracks and they can just slide into the next position. And so you're trying to look for those little shortcuts whenever possible. Okay, so we're going to play the practice for G7 and D7. Okay, now at this time, if you're kind of comfortable with those chords, I would do a chord calc practice to all of the chords, because the goal is to be able to play all 4 lines. This is only 2, all 4 lines on your practice sheet before you move on to your next lesson. Okay, here we go. Assuming that you already did your warm-up for the first line, we're going to play the first line by itself, just the first line, just the very first line with a G, okay? There we go. Now if you need to do a chord calc exercise and preview the music again before we do this, please pause the tutorial, do that, and come on back. Okay, here we go. Let's get started. I'm assuming that you're ready. 4 count. Dampening strum exercise, find your strum zone. Okay, 4 count, starting with the G. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. Again. G, 2, 3, 4. D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. 1, 2, 3, 4. G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. Okay. I hope you saw some of those shortcuts that I used for that first line. Now, if that was difficult, you gotta rewind the tutorial, do that line again, okay? Because we're gonna do 2 lines, okay? 2 lines. The first 2 lines starting with a G, with the same speed. Don't forget, always tapping your foot every time you play. Tap your foot through the music. Keep that internal metronome going to keep time with the music. Once again, first 2 lines. Okay, if you're ready to go on, let's get started. Try to use shortcuts if you can. Here we go. 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next line. G. 2, 3, 4. C. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. 1, 2, 3, 4. D7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. G. 1, 2, 3, 4. And stop. All right, good. Okay, so what I want you to do, and I'm encouraging, is to do all 4 lines on the music sheet. We just did 2, do all 4. Now, when you don't forget to do your chord cog exercise and previewing the music for all 4 lines before you do all 4 lines, okay? Because if you can't do the chord cog exercise and preview the music before you play it, you'll probably mess up when you actually play it. So get the mistakes out. Get the mistakes out of the exercise, okay? Wherever, in other words, wherever you're having a difficult chord change, get it out doing previewing the music, so when you actually play it, you can play it smoother. Okay, once again, please have all 4 lines reasonably comfortable, reasonably smooth. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be reasonably smooth, and you should be reasonably comfortable, okay? The more comfortable you are, the easier the next lesson will be. Okay, so when you feel that you're ready, we shall see you for the next lesson.